There it is. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Wednesday night if you're in the US. Wednesday night, and I want to talk about something that happened today, and I'm proud of it. This happened today, and I'm proud of it. So in nursing, we're always talking about how nurses eat their young, right? We've talked about that in this group too, and why our senior nurses or older nurses mean to new nurses and stuff like that. But guess what? It's not just nurses that are sometimes mean and not understanding of new nurses and what it takes. What does it take to integrate your skill and your confidence and your education on the floor into direct patient care successfully and then seamlessly, and then it looks effortlessly? It's a journey, okay? So this is what happened. I got some emails during the course of the earlier part of the day. Basically, I was copied on them. They were directed at my nurses for different patient care activities and different labs that they, like checking the labs and medications and things like this, right? Now, one nurse put that a medication was not given because it wasn't in stock. Well, it was in stock. So when I had the opportunity to speak to this individual, I was like, hey, I really want to have a talk with you about this. I want to offer some perspective, right? Because the thing is, we all know, and I'm very guilty of this. I'm so guilty of this. I sound like a bitch. Sometimes in person, sometimes on video, sometimes in text message. You don't have any emotion in text message, right? And so then here I am. I sound like a bitch. So I've been really working on this. Matter of fact, although I haven't used it yet, I bought this little Amazon, like a Fitbit thing, but from Amazon, right? You had to sign up to be in the trial. But then my daughter bought me a Fitbit and I felt bad for not using it. But this thing can monitor and it tells you when you sound like a bitch. So if you have a resting bitch face and you sound like a bitch, guess everyone thinks you're a bitch, right? So I've been really working on this because you can't manage people if you sound like A, you can't manage yourself, and B, you come off like a bitch all the time to everybody. So basically, I was talking to this one coworker, and I was kind of saying that. And I was just giving the scenario that, like, listen, even if the nurse has experience, like let's say you come out of school, you work in med-surg, right? And then you decide you want to go to a specialty, ICU. Or you're an ICU nurse and you want to go to med-surg, right? You went from one patient to 5 or 6 patients. You went from 5 or 6 patients to 2 patients, but you got to do everything. Whatever the scenario is, it depends where you work, right? My point to her was you have to integrate new skills, right? And when you're a new nurse, you have to take what you learned in school, what the policies are on the job, what the practices are on the job, what you know is right for your license, and you have to integrate all this into your care and your decision making. And I was trying to explain to her, like, listen, she should have the capability, right, and the follow through of her thought to be like, oh, this is the medicine I have. This is what I need to give. It will work. Let me give it. Okay? I mean, how many times when we're learning to do drug dosages is it, this is what I have on hand. This is what I need. How much do I draw? Right? I said she should have that, this particular nurse. She should. I said, but here's the thing. You're telling me she's been here for a long time. Well, she's worked for us for months. True enough. But your work day is 5 days a week, and hers is 3, which means in a month she's only worked 12 days. 12 days of integrating knowledge, 12 days of finding her feet, 12 days of getting her stride, knowing the policies, dealing with the things that come up. I said, the other thing is you don't realize, and especially when you're a new nurse, when something goes sideways, your patient codes, right? Whatever, something goes sideways. I said, it can take you the whole day. And I'm going to tell you, as a new nurse, you may not get yourself together by the end of that day. And the only choice you have is to come back the next day and try it again, right? Or the next shift. So we talked about that. And then I talked about how, like, in nursing school, we are taught if the dosage that is prescribed leads you to draw up 4 or 5 syringes of medication, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to question the order. You have critical thinking skills and you're responsible because you're giving that medication. And I'm trying to explain this to her, right? I said, so the nurse, yeah, in your eyes, she didn't do what she was supposed to do. In my eyes, she did exactly what she was trained to do. The difference is she has not yet developed the follow through to say, this is what I have on hand. This is what I need to give. It's going to be 4 syringes of medication, but it's okay. The dose makes sense. It's because of what's available, right? And she was like, oh, okay. I said, I realize I sound to you like I'm making excuses all over the place for the nurses. I said, but I'm not making excuses for the nurses. I'm just trying to explain what goes through their mind when you're a new nurse. What are the skills that you have to integrate? And you have to integrate it while you're providing real-time direct patient care. Then the other nurse that she was upset with, that nurse, she was saying that the nurses weren't getting along, right? And I was like, look, the other thing that you need to realize now is that nurse, I've talked to her many times about all these things need to be done. You don't have to do them all though, right? You can delegate. I said, as nurses, we delegate. When I delegate to you and you're a nurse, you assume responsibility for that task or that, whatever, the patient, the task, the medication, whatever, because you're a nurse. I said, and I'm always telling this nurse, you don't have to do everything yourself, but you do need to make sure it's done and follow up because you're delegating it, right, to like your parapersonnel, your assistive personnel, your LVNs, your PCTs, whatever you want to call them, depending on where you work, your CNA, right? It's acceptable and it's expected. I said, but here's the thing. The nurse is new. She doesn't yet have the confidence and self-assurance and the knowing that she knows what she's doing in this situation to delegate it. So she may not be delegating it. It's a process that you learn. You're not delegating to anybody except my nurses, right? Which is okay, it's cool. But understand, they're all developing skills. I got 3 new nurses. They're all developing these skills. And so my point is, A, you're all developing these skills. Don't forget that. Give yourself some grace, right? And hopefully you're going to have a mentor or a charge nurse or a senior nurse or a nurse you're partnering with who's going to remember and who's going to give you that grace and give you that encouragement. And if you don't, that's why I'm here. Because I know it's important, because I want you to stay in nursing, because I needed this when I was a new nurse and it wasn't available. And even today, I saw, like, this person totally doesn't get it. I have talked about this, like, in meetings and stuff. And I swear, I think they just think I'm making excuses. But the truth is, it's important. And today, finally, today was like the aha moment. Like, the light bulb went off in her head. And I explained to her, and I said every time, like, I know, to you, they're professionals and they should get it. And they will get it, but they still need guidance. And it takes time. And remember, they work 3 days a week. They're not work 40 hours a week. They don't work 5 days a week. And I just felt like it was a win for nursing. It was a win for my new nurses. It was a win for me as a supervisor, as a nursing success coach, as a mentor, to remember that, like, nurses aren't the only ones that are eating our young, but it's not intentional, but we all can, like, stand up and make a difference. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Like, especially as you get a little bit more experience and you get a little more stride and you notice there's a new CNA, there's another new nurse, right? Be that pillar of strength. Even when you're shoring up your own strength with, like, your positive self-talk and your affirmations and you're reflecting on your successes, right? At that same time, I want you to reach out to those other nurses and to those other new people in the care team and be encouraging, because whatever you're feeling as a new nurse, that CNA is feeling that too if they're new, right? That student that's on your floor is feeling that. because they're new and they're a student. And I believe that part of the answer to that question a few weeks ago is like, why do nurses do this? This is the part of how can we stop it, right? And I want it to stop. I want to be a force in stopping that. Someone asked me a couple weeks ago in a group that I'm in on Facebook, like, what is it that you want to change in the world? Like, why are you here? And I was like, I want to change the nursing experience. I want to change the nursing experience. And I believe that if I can help change the nursing experience, I can help change the patient experience. And then I can make an effect on healthcare that goes far beyond anything I can do as a nurse. That's exciting to me. That's what keeps me in nursing, honestly. Because there's other things that I could do that would be less stressful, right? But I love nursing. I love nurses. I'm thankful. I'm appreciative. I'm aware of the support that I got when I really needed it. And it didn't come from my supervisor. It came from the nurse next to me. And it didn't come in the beginning of my career. But it did come. I hung in there and it did come because I believed, A, I believed in nursing. B, although it was hard, I believed in myself. And that's what I want you to do. That's what I do for my nurses. I believe in my nurses. And today, that person that I was talking to, who's been very believed in my nurses, in the sense that she believed they could get it, that they will get it, that I will help them get it, and that they will become as good as my other nurses. I'm like, you need to remember those other nurses, they're way experienced. Some of them like 20 years, way more experienced than me. I said, and guess what? Sometimes they still ask questions that somebody would consider dumb. I still ask questions that somebody would consider dumb. Everybody has a moment where they have that brain fade and they don't do something, or they ask a question that they feel that they shouldn't. The only dumb question is the unasked question. That's why I put up the paper. It said, ask smart questions, right? Excuse me. Because when you ask the smart question, you're asking to retain and learn. And when you ask the question the next time, you may ask a question about the same subject. You might even ask the same question, but you're going to come off and phrase it and sound different because you're going to have a new level of understanding. You're going to be attaining each time a new level of understanding. That's a smart question. All right? Maybe I need to work with my nurses a little bit more on asking smart questions. Definitely on getting from this is what I have to how can I give the medication my patient needs? Can I request it? Can I request a different dosage? That's what happened. I was like, hey, guess what? You know what? We need a different dosage in this. And then I explained to this girl. Actually, I'm going to tell you a quick story, and I probably told it before. I worked someplace once. We gave IV steroid. And one of the nurses got an order and didn't question it. She gave 2 full multi-dose vials to one patient. I was like, hey, can I have the vial? My girlfriend was like, hey, can I have the vial? We don't want to open another vial. There's enough for all of us, all 3 of us, to give all of our meds. And the girl's like, oh no, I used them, all of them, both vials. And we were like, wow, okay. And I was trying to explain to this girl today, her job was to do what perhaps my nurse was doing today. Question, does this seem right? Right? And then act accordingly. Call the doctor, clarify the order, call the pharmacy, get something else sent up, or whatever. But the whole point is it's a learning process. And we need to stand up for each other as nurses. We need to stand up for the nurse who's new. We need to stand up for the nurse who's floating to our unit, right? And the more we help each other, the more I think we move towards ending this whole, nurses being mean to nurses thing, and also recognizing like we need to be a united front to other people in our interdisciplinary team. So I was just super excited. I wanted to share it because I have been working on this for a year, right, with the same individual, but I finally felt like, hey, she might have heard me today. She gets it. She sat there. I was like, do you have any other questions? She goes, no, it makes sense. And I was like, yes, win, win, win. Of course, I was all kind of calm, like, okay, good. But inside, I was like, yes, win, win, win. So I want you to have a great shift on your next day at work. I want you to be confident in yourself, confidence. I want you to give yourself grace. You're still learning. We're all still learning. The day we stop learning, just hang up the stethoscope because life is done. Okay? And I want you to be that nurse that you want someone to be to you. And don't be afraid, right? Have confidence that if the situation arose for you to say something and someone to come to you and ask you something, say like for how to do something or a second opinion, like understand that that person recognizes in you something that you don't see in yourself. And that's good. That's good. Hold on to that. Work to fulfill it, right? But hold on to that. It'll take you a long way. Have a great evening. I hope my whole video uploads. I didn't feel like doing it live. I just wanted to do it on a video because I'm more comfortable. But get comfortable. Get comfortable with yourself as a nurse, as I get comfortable with myself doing this Facebook Live thing. And let's change nursing.